Hey everyone, welcome back to Mastering Wisconsin Plumbing, the podcast where we break down the Wisconsin Plumbing Code, talk about real-world installations, and highlight what it means to truly master our craft here in the Badger State. I'm your host, Ryan Boggs, a master plumber, instructor, and a prefab foreman who's lucky enough to spend every day surrounded by some of the sharpest tradespeople in Wisconsin. And I'll tell you what, things have been busy in our prefab department. We're in the middle of what's become the largest plumbing project our company's ever taken on, and it's both exciting and challenging in all the right ways. One of the biggest breakthroughs lately has been kitting DWV systems, basically pre-building and packaging drain, waste, and vent sections in smaller, manageable assemblies that are ready to go right to the floor. What used to take hours of layout and sorting in the field is now labeled, measured, and kitted before it even leaves the shop. That idea really came out of necessity. We were finding our hanger rod lengths were off due to slab variations and anchor deviations, and rather than keep reacting, we took opportunity to rethink how we prefab DWV altogether. Through a bit of cross-trade collaboration, working closely with our layout crews and even our mechanical partners, we've managed to drastically cut down shower rough-in times in the field. It's been a great reminder that problem-solving in plumbing doesn't just come from the wrench in your hand, it comes from curiosity, learning, and teamwork. And that ties right into today's episode because staying curious and continuing to learn is what keeps us sharp, especially when it comes to the materials we use and the code that governs them. Today we're digging into Wisconsin Plumbing Code 384, which covers products and materials. It might not sound flashy, but this section is one of the most important because it defines what we're allowed to use, where we can use it, and how it must perform. If you've ever been on a job and someone says, well, it's basically the same thing, or this'll work, it's cheaper, that's when your code knowledge comes into play. 384 is what stands between you and bad product choice that could fail, leak, or get flagged by an inspector later. It's not just about getting the green sticker. It's about safety, longevity, and liability. If something fails and it's not approved or listed under 384, that falls back on the installer. The code requires materials to meet recognized standards like ASME, ASTM, ANSI, or NSF, and they must be labeled accordingly. That NSF or ASSE number isn't just a suggestion. It's proof that what you're installing has been tested and approved for the specific purpose. Now let's talk about some of the gray areas, or as I like to call them, the oddities when it comes to materials. A classic example is PVC versus CPVC. They look very similar, but they're not the same. CPVC is approved for potable water use. PVC is not. CPVC handles a higher temperature. PVC does not. PVC is great for drainage and vent systems, but that's only under certain conditions. Acid waste, you're going to have to go with CPVC. And I've seen jobs where someone used PVC for the discharge waste of a commercial dishwasher where they have 180-degree water discharging. And it doesn't melt away, but it gets pretty saggy and eventually falls. And it's just not to spec, it's not to code, and we shouldn't install things like that. Then there's brass and bronze fittings. Wisconsin's lead-free rules under 38430 align with the Federal Reduction of Lead in Drinking Water Act, but I still come across old fittings and job boxes that don't meet the 0.25% lead threshold. If not stamped with a big LF, or marked NSF 61, it doesn't belong on a potable system. Adhesives. This is a big one. 384 doesn't just regulate the pipe, it regulates the joining method. That means your solvent cement must match the material type. Companies like Odie, Blue Monster, all of them will have a rigorous, strict standard for which type of glue to install for what type of piping. These are things that the installer must know. We can also take that same logic and apply it for transition fittings. Going from copper to PEX, cast iron to PVC. Those transitions must be approved couplings listed for both materials. I've seen plenty of, we'll make it fit, or repairs that, yeah, good enough, looks good for my house. But that transition fitting was not rated for that. One of the biggest roadblocks or bottlenecks that I see in the field is a transition from CPVC Corzan CPVC Schedule 80 piping to CPVC CTS, or the FlowGuard Gold or the yellow piping. One of them is IPS, so that Corzan is iron pipe size. One of them, CTS, is copper tube size. So I could have a 3/4 inch iron pipe size to 3/4 inch CTS flow guard, and I'm going to need a transition fitting because they don't match up. And if there's a doubt in this with which glue to use for what, because both of those have different glues, if it touches the gray, there ain't no other way, right? It's got to be the gray. Gray glue, gray pipe if it touches the gray. And remember, if it's not listed, labeled, and installed per its listing, it's not compliant, no matter how good your craftsmanship looks. One thing I drill into every apprentice I teach: you, the installer, are responsible for knowing your materials. Not the wholesaler, not the foreman, not the manufacturer, you. 384 puts that accountability square on the person making the connection. You have to know if that pipe, fitting, or valve is approved for the application that you're using it in. For example, some materials aren't approved for embedding in concrete. Others have limited temperature ratings. And certain press or push-to-connect fittings might only be listed under ASSE 1061 for specific systems or pressure ratings. So being familiar with 384 isn't just about passing inspection. It's about protecting your work, your license, and your reputation. The code isn't meant to slow you down. It's there to back you up. Now, next week, we're taking this conversation a step further. I'll be sitting down with Aaron Kilberg from NIBCO, a major name in valves, fittings, and flow control systems. Aaron works directly with contractors and educators to make sure products meet national standards and state-specific requirements like those in 384. We're going to talk about what goes into designing and testing these products, how feedback from plumbers in the field shapes innovation, and what new technologies are coming our way. So if you've ever wondered how products make it from concept to code-compliant installation, that episode is going to be a good one. That's it for Mastering Wisconsin Plumbing today. To all the plumbers, apprentices, and contractors out there, remember, the more you understand about materials and their listings, the more control you have of your craftsmanship. Knowing why a product is approved, where it can be used, and how it should be installed isn't just following the rules, it's practicing mastery. If you'd enjoyed this episode, hit follow or subscribe wherever you listen, and share it with someone who's knee-deep in 384 questions on the job site. Until next time, stay sharp, stay compliant, and keep the water flowing.